Hello, hi guys. It's been a really long minute. If you don't know, if you don't remember, more likely, my name is Karen and I like to read. Today, excuse the sound of the water. This apartment's a little fussy and sometimes, even though the tap is turned off, the faucet in the kitchen will occasionally spew water. Don't know what's going on there. So if that happens, just as an FYI. So today is February 23rd, and though it is incredibly belated, I wanted to do my January wrap-ups because I like having them as individual videos. I didn't read a lot in January. I really did not realize how busy I was gonna be. So to sum it up very quickly, and you'll probably get the same summary in Feb, January I spent 2 weeks back home and then came to England January 17th, and I essentially lived in a hotel for 2 weeks. And the last week of January, school started and work started up again. And I didn't read a lot, understandably. Then in February, on February 2nd, I moved into my current flat, apartment, whatever, and I didn't have Wi-Fi for 20 days. And let's see, I was doing school, work, there was Fashion Week, and then I didn't have Wi-Fi, and my sister was visiting. So the combination of all 5 of those things meant I also didn't do a lot of reading, but I'm hoping that in this last week I can really bang out a few books. This little hair is bothering me, but whatever. So let's go back in time and let's talk about my January reads. I read 4 books. The first one, The Way of Kings. I did a separate reading vlog. If that's your cup of tea, check it out. So The Way of Kings is Brandon Sanderson's first book in the Stormlight Archive series. It is a massive tome of about 1,000 pages. It explores 3 different characters. Kelser, no, that's not his name. Khalidin, Shallan, and the old guy, who's a warmonger, if you would, but wisening out. Yeah, so it explores those 3 characters as they're trying to grapple with this world where, we're on the precipice of change. Old magic is returning, and, it's a very feudal kind of system that's happening. There's a really massive war that's happening. I've said happening a lot. There's this really big war that's taking place and kind of pulling the people in different directions, and I thought it was classic Sanderson. You see a lot of the same themes from Mistborn, kind of in a bit more mature form in this book. I think it took him a really long time to write it, and we're still in the midst of this series. Now, here are my thoughts. The book is long. It's really long. And you have about 900 pages of build-up, and then a beautiful, exciting, enthralling 100 pages that made me incredibly curious to pick up the second one, which I did. And if I'm to be honest with you, I've read about 100 pages of the second one and then I put it down. So I gotta return to this world. I think this series has some really dense, slow pacing. There's a lot of build-up. We're learning a lot about the world. There's a lot of things that we still don't know. And I would say be really cautious before you dive into it because it's long and it might not necessarily be worth it if you want something quick and pacey. There's that. Then I read these 2 little tinies, Weird Fucks, Tomorrow They Won't Dare to Murder Us. The covers kind of go together very nicely, but thematically, they're nothing alike. So we'll talk about this one, Tomorrow They Won't Dare to Murder Us by Joseph Andras. This follows the story of Fred Iveton, who was a real life guy. Yeah, he was real. Okay, so Joseph Andras is a journalist. This is his debut novel. It is brilliant. It's really good. This guy is kind of secretive, not big on the internet. There's only 1 photo of him, doesn't do a lot of interviews, and he won an award for this. and refused to accept it, I think, because he was like, we shouldn't be doing that. Literature, we need to just create art. I'm paraphrasing completely, but he didn't win the award. He didn't want to accept the award. Anyways, so in this story, this is a fictionalized retelling of Ferdinand. Ferdinand was an individual who was born in Algeria but European descent, not Algerian. However, he considers himself to be Algerian and has a lot of love for this country, and he gets involved in the political movements of the time. He's part of the revolution movement and plants a bomb to go off in the factory that he works at. The bomb would go off when no one else was there. No one would be harmed. That was really important to him, that no one gets harmed. However, before the bomb can even go off, he's caught. This story goes present, the present being him getting caught, and then back in time to kind of reveal more about his character and his love story with his wife Helen, and kind of create a picture of who this man was and his disillusionment with France, because he ends up, this isn't a spoiler, he gets executed even though the bomb never went off and he never hurt anyone. The writing is great. Beautiful sentences, very lyrical, moving, meditative. You feel such sympathy for this man, and also begs the question of who gets to be called a revolutionary, freedom fighter, and who is a terrorist. The prose is really lyrical, moving, meditative. There were so many times where I underlined things. My one complaint, my one very, very tiny gripe, there's a moment where we go back in time and we're reliving Ferdinand and Helen's first romantic encounter. It's a little saucy, which is fine. However, at one point, Ferdinand's anatomy is referred to as a boa. And that was too comical for me. It was too much, but that's that. Okay, moving on from there, we've got Weird Fucks by Lynne Tillman. I guess Lynne Tillman is a very prolific American author, and this is one of her early works. It was a novella published in the 70s, and in the more recent years has been republished with a new cover. I didn't know what I was getting myself into because I hadn't heard of this author beforehand, but from what I've read after finishing up the novella, is that this is a great introduction to her work. You get some very sharp, witty one-liners, some very cutting prose. It's really good. Like on a sentence level, there are some times where I'm just like, wow, I was kind of blown away. She does one thing, and then on the second sentence, she just wrenches you in the gut. However, I think this is very of the time. This tells the story of a young woman who's drifting from the US and Europe. Sometimes she's in Maine, other times she's in New York, then she's in Amsterdam, London, and it basically recounts all of her different relationships, and none of them are very healthy or that fulfilling, but it's told in a very removed manner. We're so removed from the narrator that the main character could almost be any woman. There's some really funny moments, there's some really dark moments, there's some sexual assault, there's a lot in such a slim book, but it is the kind of thing, maybe just because of reading it now in this day and age, it doesn't necessarily stay with you, but I think if you want a very quick read in one afternoon, pick this up. Okay, finally, we're gonna talk about this one, Fuccboi. Wow, these titles, eh? So, Fuccboi tells autofiction of Sean, Thor, Conroe. So our main character, his name is also Sean. I have a lot to say about this book, yet also nothing. I spoke with Kieran about it, and he has corralled me into doing a book review, so that is coming, its own separate video, diving into this text, into this debut novel, which could have been a screenplay, I think. I think this would have done really well, maybe God knows who, it might just end up being a Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever situation or movie. I think there's material here that if massaged in the writer's room would work really well on the screen. What this story is. This tells the story of Sean, who is navigating life in Philly, sans health insurance, sans a full-time job, trying to make the art life happen, capital A, capital L, art life. And he is grappling with his health, lack thereof, and coming to grips with his failed relationship with ex-bae. There are no names in this book. Everyone is either R, V, ex-bae, current bae, editor bae, hot bae, ugly bae. I don't think there is an ugly or hot bae, but you get the point. That's the only identifier that we have for people, and it gets a little confusing. I would have loved maybe just one name, whatever. The book has gotten a lot of attention because of its style, because of its provocative title. How I feel about this is that I think there was so much potential. I feel a lot like Tyra Banks when she screams at that girl, "We were all rooting for you." That is how I feel at my core. I will insert that clip so you better understand.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this.
But that's how I felt. I think there's a lot of themes covered in here, and had we had just a little bit more narrow of the scope and another edit, greatness. That's what I think. But some might say that's unfair to say. It is what it is. I don't think, honestly, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who like this book. I'm kind of impartial to it. It was fun to read. It was interesting to read. I had high hopes because whatever. This is really chaotic, and I might just wrap this up here and do its own separate video. That was my January reading. I would say it was an okay start to the year, but that's fine. I've read 2 really good things in Feb, and I'm hoping that once I get more into a groove, more reading will occur, because I really do want to read some bangers. That's all I'm looking and hoping for. Okay, I will see you people later. If you've read this and you properly, like, if you actually want to see a review, another one, or a longer one that's, textual analysis, let me know and I will do that. Please tell me what you read in Jan and if you had any favorites. Okay, bye.